So, morning everyone, I'm Jenny Parry and I'm the Head of People and Organisational Development at North Wales Police, and it is just so fabulous to just see a sea of faces and to be able to facilitate this discussion. So just want to say thank you to Becky and everybody who's been involved for bringing together such a wonderful panel this morning to be able to have this opening session on Believe You Can. So without any further ado, I'm going to ask the panel members to introduce themselves and then we'll get into our discussion. So, Aziz, do you want to introduce yourself first?
Sure. My name's Aziz Chowdhury and I work as a business analyst at AO. That's it.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Cherie Howlett and I am the CMO, Chief Marketing Officer of Jola, and we started Jola 8 years ago and it's a mobile data company.
Hi, I'm Lauren Borodiko. I'm a QA coach at a company called MoonPay. We build payment infrastructure for cryptocurrencies.
Hi, I'm Parul. I'm a senior talent acquisition partner at XDesign. I actually started on Monday. We're a tech transformation consultancy, and we started off around Edinburgh, but grown quite quickly around the UK. And I'm also a mental health and ADHD advocate. Thank you.
Brilliant, thank you. And we're going to listen to so much more about your stories over the next session. But Powell, if I start with yourself, so I know you've been diagnosed with ADHD and you were diagnosed as an adult. So it'd be great to hear a little bit about that experience and how you've navigated it.
Yes, so it's quite random how it happened actually. So I was at an online tech meetup and one of the talks was on neurodiversity. It was a talk by Rachel Morgan Trimmer. She's a fantastic consultant if you want to reach out to her on anything neurodiversity related. And Rachel started talking about autism, Asperger's, and then when it came to ADHD, I don't know what happened, like the penny just suddenly dropped and I thought, this is me, that's me, yeah, do that all the time. And literally within that week, I contacted my GP and I was like, I really think I have ADHD. I need to get an assessment, and had that within a couple of months, and then all the puzzle pieces started falling into place. A part of me was really relieved. I was like, this is great, you know, I'm going to start medication, things are going to be a lot better, but there was quite a big part of me that was quite sad about looking back and reflecting a lot of the challenges that I had, which ended up being related to that. And had I known a lot earlier, I really struggled in school. In first lockdown, actually, I was at my parents' house and we opened this big box of all the stuff that we had from school as kids, all our awful drawings, you know, the ones that you pull out, take home, and your parents say, oh, that's lovely, and it looks so bad. And I don't know why you said that. Looking through my school reports, and there's a common theme. There's like, she's bright, she's smart, but she doesn't try. She talks a lot, she distracts other people around her. And I actually really wanted to follow in my parents' footsteps and become a doctor, and I realized I couldn't do that. I wasn't disciplined enough, I didn't get the grades, and kind of felt like I let them down a little bit. So that's what was quite a hard part about it. And I know a lot of women who also got late diagnosis who have felt a similar way. Another huge part of that was navigating around work. So once you get that diagnosis, you have to figure out ways that work a lot better for you. And very recently, I was actually interviewing, I was on the job market. If anybody here is neurodivergent or you have any kind of like medical condition, you wonder, should I disclose this when I interview? Is this going to help? How will they respond? Is it going to affect my application? In fact, in all of my interviews, I told them, I said, I have ADHD, this is a really big part of me. And I was really fortunate to start at XDesign, and my first one-to-one with my manager this week, I think I almost cried because I had it on a list to ask her about some reasonable adjustments, but I was like really nervous. I don't want to feel like I'm being too much, that I'm being awkward, that this is going to inconvenience them. But she made sure that every single thing that I asked for would be put in place, that she would always look out for me if she noticed I was struggling, and that the adjustments will be constantly be reviewed. So if you have anything which you actually need help for at work, it's actually finding a place that will support you, because I didn't necessarily kind of always have that like level of support, and to find it in a place where you feel really safe and psychologically safe to say, this is what I need, it's a really, really big part of it. And another part of the journey has been starting to share what I have been going through. So with the diagnosis, with the medication, with the side effects, and I started posting about it on LinkedIn. So I wrote quite a few articles, and from that, I had countless women who reached out and said, I relate to this quite a lot, actually. Do you know what? I'm going to speak to my GP, and I'm going to see if I can get an assessment. Before I started writing about ADHD, I didn't have anyone with ADHD in my life, and now I have countless people, and having that community around me has meant that I don't feel alien, I don't feel unusual, I don't feel different. I just feel like it's a normal, really big part of me. And there was somebody that I really respected who told me that I was talking about it too much, that I was posting about it a little bit too much. I was letting it become my identity. And let me tell you, if anybody ever says that to you, it's not right. It's not right. It is a big part of who I am, but it also makes me really good at my job. As a recruiter, anybody who knows me knows that I will chew anyone's ear off. I'm really, really chatty, but it also means that I'm fiercely passionate about every single thing that I do. So there's so many good things about it, and surrounding yourself with people and helping them understand. So when I got my diagnosis, I sent my boyfriend articles on like what ADHD is, like kind of like how it kind of like makes me act. And also my best friend, Rachel, who is here today, she has not just tolerated that I have ADHD, she embraces it. It's her favorite thing about me. So having that around me has been such a big relief. I still really struggle. I'm not completely there, but finding a career and a company that I can thrive has been amazing, and I won't ever apologize for being authentic about who I am. So if there's anything that I've said that somebody might relate to a little bit, or if you want to hear anything about more what I said, feel free to grab me when we have a little bit of networking. And that was everything I wanted to share on that.
Thank you so much. And I think there's so much in your story there that you've shared that we can all hear from, learn from rather. And I think one of the interesting things was you saying about how you started to share it, you started to write about it, and a lot of people have then come out and supported you with it. And I think, Azik, if I bring you into the conversation now, obviously being an author yourself and having written about some of your experiences, you've certainly got some inspirational stories to tell around your journey from overseas, coming to the UK and the challenges that it brought. What do you think the key factors have been for helping you with your journey so far?
I mean, it's been a long journey. I came from my family were refugees from a war-torn part of another war-torn part of the world. And as a child, I saw mass graves and things like that, which obviously have an impact on you. So it's been a long journey from that point of view. The other journey that I traveled was that as a child, I was severely dyslexic, but nobody knew that. I used to often stand in the corner of the classroom, and that created pressures as well. So my dad thought I was an idiot, and there was a lot of, shall I say, violence in the house. And I left home quite early, at an early age. I was homeless for a while till someone took me in. So then I admitted myself when somebody said, "You've got word blindness." That was before the term dyslexia. Actually, for a dyslexic, that's quite a tough term. So word blindness works better. So they said, "You've got word blindness," and they drove me to a place in Swindon. I think it's one of the first ever dyslexic centers. And they described to me, "What is it you see when you look at a page?" And I said, "I see a number of words, but some of the others would fly around." So they said, "Try this." They just gave me a ruler and said, "It keeps the words still." From that day, it didn't heal the dyslexia, it didn't heal the points in my life where I should have been in education along with the other children at the levels they were at. But I became an avid reader. You know, I read sometimes I read 3 or 4 books a week, you know, so, and so that became the thing that helped me. In reading the books, one thing I realized was that you know, we all of us think about things. We have hundreds of thoughts every day. We could be at work thinking, what shall I have for tea? We could be at home thinking, I need to go and do some shopping. And we make a list. And yet the most important thoughts that go on in our brain about our lives and our future, we never list down. In reading, I realized that that's what authors were doing. They were writing down the things that were important to them, the things that mattered, the things that gave a message. And so that led me to writing. But what I want to say is that when you write something down, it takes an intangible and makes it a tangible because it's on a piece of paper. You can pin that piece of paper somewhere. It can be inspirational, it can be motivational, it can be all of those words that people use. But unless you put that thought into some kind of decisive plaque that you can refer to, the thought disappears just as many other thoughts do. And that's kind of why I wrote. I want to try and bring it back because it's not all hopeless. Years later, I did make it up with my dad, and we've had some great times together. He's passed away since. But he said to me, you know, I was working in London at the time, so I'd do a day job. I'd come home, and because of his medication, he was on about 13 different tablets, you know. Every time he walked, he rattled. So, you know, it was like, have I got Sammy Davis Jr. in the room? What's going on here? I couldn't work it out. So his sleeping was all wrong. So for the last sort of year of his life, luckily I was working in London, and my parents live in London. And his medication gave him, insomnia. And he spoke to me. So I used to go to work, come home about 6:30, sleep till midnight, and then stay up with him till 2 in the morning because he'd want to talk. So I got to know him for a year. And he asked me a question. He said, was I a good dad? And I said, in part, but in the majority, no, you weren't good. The part, he said, which part was I good? I said, you once said to me, visualize the invisible. If you can visualize the invisible, then nothing is impossible or unreachable. And he said, where were the parts I was bad? I said, well, I got the scars to show for that. So let's not dwell on that too much. The point I want to make is that we all struggle. In many ways we struggle. In our own ways we struggle. We sometimes create our own struggles because of uncertainty. But what I'd say is that it's not what the struggle is, it's the lesson you learned along that. The lessons you learned about toxic situations. Could be people, could be areas, could be something. You might have had a car crash and you always feel scared going past that piece of road. You know? It's not about avoiding that. It's about embracing that and say, that's made me what I am. If you embrace your strengths and weaknesses, as I had to do, otherwise I would have been quashed under, you can believe you can. Yeah. So, and that's it.
Thank you, and that's a really powerful personal story that you've shared. So on behalf of, I'm sure, everybody in the room, I know it must have taken some courage to share that, so thank you. And certainly your story about being a refugee is very topical at the moment and links fabulously to the charity that we spoke about. So thank you. And Lauren, you have, quite a bit in common with Zeke in terms of your dyslexia, and you call it your superpower, which is a really positive way of looking at things. So how have you reached that point?
Yeah, so I was really lucky, and I learned that I was dyslexic when I was about 6 years old through the year 2 stats, because there was such a discrepancy between my maths ability and my English. So I've always grown up not thinking that I'm stupid or that I'm an idiot, and everything that if I've not been able to do, it's like, oh, I'm dyslexic. No, I'm dyslexic. Like, that's just how it's been. Even to the point that, like, back then in the early noughties, my parents paid a lot of money for me to go to a program called the DOOR program, which was even on the BBC News as a way to cure dyslexia. It didn't work. But so from then, I kind of, struggled through school, and at college I did an applied course, and I really excelled at that, and went to university. I really struggled and I dropped out. I then worked in retail. I really excelled, and it's very been like up and down and up and down, and I've never realized that it's to do with my dyslexia. So then I decided that I need to go back to university and I was doing well at work, so I thought all my struggles must have magically gone away over the years. But I was wrong, and I really struggled back at university. And I struggled through, and I really wanted to get to the end, so I persisted and tried to get as much help as I could. But I didn't really believe in myself. And then I got to the end of the course, which was great, but I had failed all of my final year exams. So I'd had 4 miserable years, and I was walking away with nothing but a load of debt. So it was only a year later that I kind of saw the silver lining of this, and it was because I'd struggled so much. I'd been seeing a university counsellor for anxiety, and they had kind of talked to the university on my behalf, and the university offered me a deal. So they said I could either walk away with a third-class degree with honours, which I shouldn't have been getting, I did that badly, or I could resit my worst performing exam, which I'd just got 23% in, and if I'd managed to get 70%, then I can pull my grade up to a 2-2. So for days I was thinking, I've never got anywhere near 70%, like, I don't think I can do that. But ultimately, I decided to retake the test based on the fact that I would regret it if I didn't at least try. So several months later, I passed my test. I got 77%, and I was overwhelmed and really excited because just actually focusing on one area and one exam, it meant that I was able to actually pass a standardized test, which I'd never really been able to do before. So with that crazy amount of confidence, I then applied for my first job in tech at Money Supermarket Group, where I met Kath. And it was the first, and actually the only job that I've ever said in the first place, I am dyslexic and I need some special adjustments, because anyone that's done any graduate recruitment knows that you've got to jump through a million hoops. So I wanted to have the exercise up front so that I could read it and understand what I needed to do. And I really enjoyed my time at Money Supermarket, and it was a really great place to learn about myself and really start to believe in that I should talk about my dyslexia. And we had lots of extracurricular things about believing in yourself and diversity. And I watched Rachel's talk 2 years ago. It was amazing. I really loved that one. Yeah, so even though I was really enjoying being myself, I hadn't really clicked that all these different events happened, and it was all because of my dyslexia. It was only when, about a year ago, I came across a video on YouTube it's called A Dyslexic Sperm Bank, and it is a video about 3 minutes long, made by a charity called Made by Dyslexia, and they are trying to change the narrative around dyslexics and trying to help people see that it's not a disadvantage, it's actually, in many cases, an advantage to life, especially once you're out of the school system. Like, it just doesn't really work in there. So yeah, I watched that video and I was just like, oh my God, like, people always tell me at work, they're like, you ask great questions. Like, how do you know these great questions? And I'm just like, they pop into my head, like, it seems very obvious. But then I finally realized that it's obvious to me because I think slightly different to the majority of other people. And because I'm quite confident in my ability, I raise those strange questions, and therefore I can be a valuable member of the team. But that video just changed my life. Everything clicked. I went down a rabbit hole. I watched all of them. It's actually a massive charity, and like Richard Branson, Orlando Bloom, like loads of famous people are a part of it. And I just learned a lot about how dyslexia is what makes me really good at my job. And ever since then, I've started talking about it openly. Never to this many people before, but I found that if you just start the conversation, people are willing to have it. And I actually found out that someone that I've known for over 10 years is dyslexic, and we'd never spoken about it. We'd just literally both been silent in the fact that we have this ability because it's seen as such a disadvantage. So I would just say, just talk about things, and you really should watch that YouTube video, the Dyslexic Sperm Bank. It's amazing. So I'm just trying to change people's perspectives, really, and dyslexia is not a disadvantage whatsoever.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And it's really interesting, is it, the themes, and Pavel said some of the same, the importance of the support network, finding people who also have dyslexia or ADHD, and those positive experiences in the workplace. And Sherry, you are an award winner in that space. I would be as bold as to suggest. So, you've had some incredible awards, Diversity in the Workplace, Entrepreneur of the Year, just to name a couple. And you're currently sort of really striving to create an inclusive culture at JOLA at the moment. There's a couple of questions for you, but firstly, how have you kept motivated over 17 years in a senior, fast-paced role?
Oh, well, when I started, I think my motivation came from my parents, because my parents gave up an awful lot. They used to talk about work a lot. They both did jobs that they didn't like as much as they used to, just so that they could put money into me and my brother and give us every opportunity to go and actually solve some of these problems when we went into the workforce. So that was what was driving me, listening to my parents and the struggles that they faced at work. And me and my brother thought, well, when we go into the work, we will be able to solve some of these problems ourselves. But what I didn't realise was that I went into marketing in a tech company, and I got all my qualifications, and I was really ready and prepared to go out into the workforce and change things and make a difference. And I hadn't quite understood that marketing wasn't perceived as a really important department, and me being the only female in the IT company, I was asked to make the tea, and I was asked to make the sandwiches, and I was asked to answer the phone and answer the door, which I did willingly, but I thought I could do more. I'm a problem solver at heart. What motivates me is solving problems. So I'm sat with the sales team who are completely ignoring me and doing their own thing, and I'm picking up on problems that they've got. And I'm thinking to myself, you need leads, you need brand awareness. This is something I can help with. And sort of one by one, sort of won them over. They started, marketing, just get me a PDF. I just did a presentation. I don't need anything else from you guys. And then I started, well, what about if I could generate some leads? What about if I could generate some brand awareness? What if I could solve that problem you're having and actually help you hit your target? Well, I don't think you'd be able to do that, but, give it a go. And I did sort of one by one sort of help the sales team. And the tech team are like, oh, flipping out the sales team, they're going out and they're telling people it does this. But actually, what's really clever about it is this. So I sat with the tech team and sort of thought about the problems that they were having and sort of worked with them to sort of promote the unique sort of features and benefits of their products. And then slowly sort of get the attention of management. Okay, this girl is managing to solve some problems with the business. We want to grow the business. Could she help? And we built a team to be able to do that. But then it was all going really, really well. Had a team of people. We were solving problems. We were growing the business. And then we got bought. And at this point, I had a baby. I was on maternity leave. And we all got made redundant. And at that point, I sort of felt a little bit thrown away. Like all the work that we'd done, I wasn't wanted anymore. I was at home with a baby. And that they got rid of a brilliant team that was working really well. So at this point, we got together as a management team and said, right, we're going to set up a new company. We're going to do it the way that we know works. We're going to be inclusive. We're going to fix all of these problems that people, we're going to be all on an equal playing field. You know, we're going to do this and we're going to grow this company right. And they had no option to do that and change, because everywhere I went, I took a 3-month-old baby with me. And if you can imagine the people that I work with, they're sort of 50, very sort of traditional business people, not used to having a little baby with them wherever they went. But they adapted to the way that I was working because they needed me as part of the team. And they took that inclusive, they adapted to the way that I was working, they were very flexible with me, and they took that attitude to recruiting new people. So then we started looking for people that could do the job, not that were really structured and had years of experience and that already worked in the industry. We were looking for really good local people with the right attitude that we could train, and that's when we took apprentices on. And for me personally, I'm sat at work and they're like, we can't recruit any really good marketing people, we can't recruit any really good salespeople. And I'm sat at my home with my mum friend saying, We've got talent, you know. We sat here with the babies, but we want a job. We can't get a job. Why can't we get a job? I can offer all of these things. So I said, right, let's start hiring part-time hours. Let's offer part-time hours. Let's offer Monday to Thursday part-time hours. Let's see what that does. Let's change the way that we recruit. Let's see who we can bring into business this way. And sort of fast forward to today, I've got an army of a marketing team. They're all part-time mums. They used to work in WH Smith. They used to work in travel agents. And now they are technical marketing people. And, you know, if you think about Philippa's like, I work in WH Smith, there's no way I'm going to learn. I mean, I work in a very technical company. You know, what Sims do in the Internet of Things, I couldn't possibly be involved in that. And here she is today, writing blogs and writing press releases about Cloudflare and their DDoS protection software. You know, she's part of this world. It is something that you can learn. So what I'd say to anybody who's sitting there thinking, you know, this isn't for me, this isn't something I could possibly learn, you can with the right environment, you can with the right people around you. And all those problems that my sort of parents had years ago, I'm now in a position that I can actually sort of slowly start to introduce new things, change the way that we recruit, change the way the flexible hours, you know, that we offer, the benefits that we offer, and actually bring more diverse people in. And now we've got able bodies, we've got disabled bodies, and our sort of, I hate using those words, but they are the special people that make the team work. They are the people. I've got a member of my team, ADHD, and I'm going to talk to you afterwards about it, because I said, well, I don't know anything about that. How can I help you? What do you need? And because we are that open and honest, people can share those stories with us, and hopefully we are making a difference. And I say our team is the reason we are so successful. So we started with 5 of us in my living room with a 3-month-old baby and no money. And now, fast forward, you know, the company's worth quite a bit of money. There's 50 people in the company, and we're really proud of our diverse company that we've built.
And I think that's such a fabulous way to sort of summarise that believe you can, and the message that you were saying to anybody who might be thinking, I can't do it. Actually, yes, you can. So thank you very much. And I think that does wrap up our time on the panel, and I know everybody in the room would have absolutely taken something out of the 4 inspirational stories that we've heard. So I'd just like to say thank you for sharing them, and I'm sure everybody will know where to find you during the break. So thank you very much.